The lecture, we go ahead and learn how to download and install Pycharm editor step by step. Okay, go to this URL, jetbrains.com/Pycharm. JetBrains is a community of software developers that creates so many IDEs for software programming. You have that both for Java programming, C programming, C++, Python, and so on. So if you go to jetbrains.com, you remember to put /Pycharm, showing that you want to download Pycharm. Okay, or you can go over to your Google and just type in Pycharm and you get to this destination. But the URL is just there for you. You can type in that and kick off immediately. All right, you're going to land on this web page that we are currently. And here you have this cookies notification. You can get your mouse down here and click on yes, I agree. And that goes off immediately. So now you can scroll down and read more about all these, okay? But that is not the main purpose. What we need to do right now is you can go ahead and click on download so you can be able to get the community edition free of charge. So click on download right now. So once you click on download, you can see download Pycharm. So here you have the professional edition, which is a trial version because you need to purchase this if you want to do some other things. But on the community edition, it is a free version and open source software. So you go ahead and click on community edition and download this. It's just step by step. And I have already downloaded this. And right here, you can see that I have Pycharm community edition right in here. So after you've done this, the next thing is double click on this and it will install one time. There is no long process about that. So after you've installed this, you can go ahead and have something like this. So this is what I have right in here. So Pycharm version 2020.2.1. Okay, we are no longer in 2020 and you can still see 2020. That means this can always be updated anytime. Okay, so no matter the time you are watching this, we are no longer in 2020, but we are still seeing 2020 version. That means it is liable to be updated at any time. Okay, now we need to create a new project by clicking on create new project. So I have this new project, and because I have some projects I have created before, that is why I can see this. I'll go ahead and delete this. So I'm going to have this user/Pycharm project. This is the default folder where this is installed, the time you are installing this. So what I need to do is, let me go ahead and say Python program or Python programming. Okay, so the new program I named is Python programming. So that is what I have right in here. And we have a Python interpreter, which we are going to set this at the time when we have created our project. So you're going to leave this just the way it is, new environment. Okay, so we're going to set the Python interpreter when it is needed. So for now, you go ahead and hit on create. And when you hit on create, it goes on and start loading some dependencies. So this takes a few time. We're going to wait for that to finish, and then we kick off immediately. So it just takes a little time. And as we are waiting for this, let's go ahead and just observe how it moves. While I pause this and kick off again, you go on and continue with your own installation. All right, so we've done, and currently you can see that this is what you have. Okay, so this has actually created this project named as look at this project called Python programming. It has a file known as main.py. Actually, you'll be learning how to create a new file from scratch because you'll be deleting all this. But this is used to test or to show you that this actually works fine. So how do you know if that actually works fine? You can take your mouse to this run.main or run main. Okay, so this is the button you use to run your project in Pycharm. Go ahead and click on this. If you click on run, it goes on and say hi Pycharm, and you'll be like, how? How did we get this? Okay, I'm going to minimize this. Now you have this here, this function called print or if name print hi Pycharm. Okay, and that looks like wow. All right, there's no problem. I'm going to take you step by step because we'll be deleting everything right in here. So this is the default page you get once you create a project in Pycharm. So which means you have to delete that and kick off immediately. All right, so the next thing is I talked about the interpreter. So the interpreter we're talking about is under File. So take your mouse to File, click on File, and go to Settings. And under Settings, that is coming up. It takes a little time because it is filled with load. Okay, so this is it right in here. So we have this here. What you need to do is each time you create a project, go under project. Let me go ahead and minimize this. So this is how it looks like. Okay, so you have appearance, you have key map, editor, plugin, version control, project, build, languages, and tools. So under project, no matter what you name your project, you see the name right in here. So we named as Python programming. Okay, so you can name this to be like database management. You can name that to be any IDU or anything you are working on. So I'll go ahead and open this by clicking on this small icon, and right in here you have Python interpreter. Now, what is the main use of this Python interpreter? So Python interpreter is where you're going to add in the modules. Let me go ahead and double click on that. So when you double click on that, it opens. You can see that. So during the installation of Python, we have what is called pip. This pip is very important. Without pip, you can't be able to run a program in Python. Okay, so if I remove this, I can be able to set it up again. Now you have setup tools. During the installation of Pycharm, the pip and setup tools by default are being installed. So if you want to install any other module or anything else, go over to this plus sign and click on that. And once you click on that, you can see we have this window that opened up for us right in here. So available packages. So here you have lots and lots of packages you're going to work with. So in this program or in this course, we're working with things like NumPy. When you click on NumPy, you can see you can be able to install NumPy. We have something like Matplotlib. So Matplotlib. Oh, this is Matplotlib. If you make mistake in your or if there's a typo, you actually not get the actual result. Okay, so this is Matplotlib. So this one we'll be looking at machine learning. Okay, in this course, yes, actually we're looking at machine learning. Now we go ahead and look at some other things like if you want to use like OpenCV in case, let's say OpenCV. So if you're going to work with image processing in Python, which is very important aspect of Python programming, you're going to work with OpenCV. So here you get all the packages you need. I'll go ahead and close this now. Then as a beginner, you don't worry because in this course, we're moving step by step, and for whatever we need, I'm going to get that to you, okay? So for whatever we need, I will take you that step by step. You will understand that, and for any question you have, please don't hesitate to use the question and answer section, and I'm going to get back to you immediately. Okay, so now this is all about download and installation of Pycharm using the community edition. So that is all for now. In the next lecture, I will go ahead and remove this main.py, and I will take you step by step how to create your very first project under here, and then we'll look at the basic syntax of Python programming, which will help us to understand everything we need to know about Python programming, and then we dive in deep and move into the advanced part of Python programming. So for now, go ahead and practice with this. If you have any question, you go ahead and use question and answer section, and I'm always here to respond to you as soon as possible. Thank you, and I'm going to see you in the next video lecture. Here we go ahead and look at Turbo. Alright, so this sounds somehow for beginners. If you're actually a beginner and this is your very first time coming to Python programming, you're going to look at Turbo. And Turbo is a very important aspect of Python development. So it's one of the data set collections or data type collections that are used to store data set. All right. So you used to store multiple items in a single variable. We have other types of data type collections that are used to store collections of data. And we discussed about one that is list, and this is table. The next one is set and dictionary. And these have different qualities and different usages. All right, so table as a collection of data or a data type used in collection of data is used to store multiple items in a single variable, as I've told you, and these items are ordered and they are unchanged. So these items are ordered and they are unchanged. When I mean they are ordered, we say that table are ordered, and this means that the items have a defined order, and that order can never and will not be changed. And what do we mean by unchanged? So table are unchanged or unchangeable, meaning that we cannot change, add, or remove items after the tables have been created, just like we discussed in list, where we can be able to add list, remove list, or delete list. Here, once you create a table is there. So the reason why we have all this is that if you want to use any data type, you should know which of these that you want to use that is preferable for your operation, and you go ahead and use that. So you can alter and the list, but you cannot alter table. You can remove or edit or update, but you can't do that once table have been created. And table also allow duplicate items. So because table, okay, let me go ahead and kick off immediately with an example, because that will really help us to understand the things that we need to know about table. Let me go ahead and say that table is, let me go ahead and create a, so this is a variable hello, and let hello be equal to a round bracket. Now the difference between a table and a list is that list is stored in a square bracket, but table is stored in a round bracket. And let me go ahead and say this is a pen, then this is a bag, then we have pencil. All right, now I'll add more of this, like eraser. So for now, we're going to do with this and then add book. So now this is a set of data that is stored in a single variable known as hello. So whenever we call hello, hello is go ahead and print out that. So this is a table, go ahead and print out hello. Now if I should run this code, we go ahead and get this table, and this is the set of data that is being stored in hello. So this is one of the data sets that is being used in Python. Now in table, we say it allows a duplicate items. So I might have bag again. Now let's go ahead and run the code and check it out. So bag has been added. When we have bag again. So we have duplicate items here. Now if you want to get the length of table, so what you need to do is you go ahead and say print length, and then put in the variable hello right in there, and now go ahead and run the code, and the length is 6. That is 1 2 3 4 5 6. Then the next one is just like list. The very first item here is index 0, so it is at index 0. The second one is index 1 2 3 4 5. Hope that is cool. So the very first one is index 0, and the next one is index 1, index 2, index 3, index 4, and index 5. So to create a table with only one item, you have to add a comma after the item. So to create a table with just one item, you will need to add a comma after that one item. Let me go ahead and say I'll comment this, which I will still uncomment. Oh, I don't even need to do that. Let me go ahead and remove that, and I'll go ahead and use another variable name word, and let word be equal to school. School is this. Now, if I should go ahead and print out school, go ahead and say print word. And let's go ahead and run this code and check out something. This is school. So, if you check out this, let's go ahead and know if this is a table. It is printed out. Then go ahead and say type, and then word. Then go ahead and run the code and check it out. So this class is STL. So it is not a table. And you'll be like, wow, is that really true? Yes. Now, how do we make this to be a table? Go ahead and add a comma. Now, once you add a comma, oh, this is cool. I'm not sure. All right. Now, let's go ahead and run the code again and check out. Now, can you see we have a class table because I've added a comma after that, just because I just created a single item table. So you see that once you have a single item in your table, you must add a comma for that. Now, a table can be items of any data type. That means you can have these to be string variables, and it can also be numerical. Let's go ahead and say num is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Now I can go ahead and print out this. Let's go ahead and say, okay, let's first of all check if this is really a table. Let me go ahead and say num, and go ahead and run the code. And this is what we have. Check if this is a table. Go ahead and say type, and then we check if this type is a tuple. Then the data type is what we are checking, and that is a tuple. So you see that is a tuple. Now it can also be Boolean. So go ahead and say, let me say bool is equal to, it can be true or false. True, false. Now if I should go ahead and print out bool, then let's go ahead and run this code and check it out. True or false, and this is a tuple. So a tuple can be any of the data types. So it can be a string, it can be integer, it can be float, or anything. And it can also be a mixed. All right, let me go ahead and say this is a mix. Go ahead and say it can be a string, bag. It can be 1, 5. It can be true, and so on. And I can go ahead and print it out. Check it out. Okay, you can see it was able to create this tuple for us. So tuple can be of any type. All right. So we've known about tuple, and now we've been able to check it out. And you can also use a tuple constructor to create tuple. Now, how do you use a tuple constructor? Let me go ahead and say I'll go ahead and create a variable called constub. And if you want to use a tuple constructor, you must always name this to be tuple. So using the word tuple has always made that to be the tuple constructor. And now it's going to take double round bracket. The very first one is for the tuple method, and the next one is the tuple defined round bracket, which you must use for tuple. And then you can go ahead and say bag book 5, 6, 7, and true. Now I'll go ahead and print out these constop, and now let's go ahead and run the code and check it out. So it was able to print out. Now you can go ahead and check the type to know if that actually exists as tuple or not. Now let's go ahead and run this code and check it out. So this is a little introduction to tuple, and we're going to look more into tuple in the next video lectures to come. So go ahead and practice with this. If you have any question, you go ahead and use the question and answer section, and I'm going to get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you, and I'm going to see you in the next video lecture. ahead and look at set. So sets are used to store multiple items in Python for a single variable. Alright, so for a single variable, we can store multiple items just like we do in list and table. And it's one of the built-in data types that we have in Python. So we've said that this built-in data types we have is list, table, set, and dictionary. And they have different qualities and different usages. Now, set as our object of discussion is both unordered and unindexed. And one aspect of this is that in set, you don't or you will not have things ordered. That means there is no need having index 0, index 1, or index 2 because it will never be ordered. Let me go ahead and show us an example. Let me say hello is equal to, go ahead and say hello. And here in set, we use curly brace. That is the difference. So for a list, we use a square bracket. And for table, we use round bracket. And then for table, then for set, we use a curly brace. All right, so let me say it again. List is square bracket, table is a round bracket, and set is a curly brace. Now, I'll go ahead and say we have pen, then the next one is book, and the next one is eraser. So, the very first aspect of set is that set is unordered. So if I go ahead and print out this hello, let's go ahead and see how it's going to look like. Check out pen, eraser, book, but here I have pen, book, eraser, and if I should run it again, it will reset itself. Let's check it out. Eraser, book, pen. You see that? It's not always steady, just the way you arrange it up there. And if you continue to run it, it's just be pen, book, pen, eraser. So it is never ordered. That is why we say that set is unordered. Therefore, you cannot use something like index here. So, and set is unchangeable. It does not always allow multiple or duplicate items or duplicate values. I cannot say pen and pen again. All right. So if I should go ahead and add another one here, like book, let me go ahead and say book. And if I run this code, you will be expecting book to be twice, but it's not. So here I have book, pen, eraser, because I have book already in there before. Except I should remove one of these O and see book, pen, eraser. But if I should go back and put this 0 right in here, and I try clicking on debug instead of run, and that is why it's going to take a little time before it comes back again. All right, now it has run, it has debugged, and now I can run this code again and check it out. So stop and run. All right, so book, pen, and eraser. Okay, now this is about duplicate items, unordered, and so on in set. We can actually check the length of a set if you want to check how many that is there. Now I have this and I have 4 of them. Now let me go ahead and say I want to check the length. I'm going ahead and use the length function and then go ahead and say hello. And now let me go ahead and run this code and check it out. 3. All right, I have 3. Why 3 instead of 4? Because book appeared twice. Remember, it does not allow duplicate items. That is why it was able to print out 3. So let me go ahead and remove one of these that exists, and if you run this again, it will remain 3. Okay, can you see that? So you should know the difference between all these so that you can be able to play around with them tomorrow. So we go ahead and create another one. Let me go ahead and say world, and let world be equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, now I have this word here, and I can also create my boos. Let me say boo set. All right, so boo set, and here is going to be true, false. All right, now if I should go ahead and add up everything, I can still print all of them out. So if I should go ahead and say Word, it will print out Word for me. Check out. This is Word, and for bool set, and if I run this code, and that is it. False and true. Remember, it is unordered. So now you can have a mix of it. Let me go ahead and say this is true. This is book, pen. All right. Okay, I didn't close this. Now if I should go ahead and print out mix, it will print out everything. So you see that? So this is about the set, and you can actually get the name or the type by saying type to know if that is actually set. You can go ahead and say type, and let's run this code and check out. So the class is set. So once you type type, I said once you type. All right. Now, if you don't want to use curly brace to create a set, but you actually want to create a set, you go ahead and use the set constructor. Let me go ahead and say set const. So set const is equal to, go ahead and use that set and double round bracket. I can go ahead and say this is a pen, and this is a book, and this is a bag. True. All right. So this way, I've actually created a set. Remember, this should be in the upper case. I've actually created a set, and if you want to print out this, what you need to do is you go ahead and let's first of all check if that is actually a set const, and let's go ahead and run this code and check it out. Class is set. See that? Class is set. So if you go ahead and print that out, you will get the output here. So you see that, and it is unordered. So that is set using set constructor. So that is a way you can be able to use a set constructor to create a set if you don't want to use a curly brace to create that. So that is all for now. We are going to look more on how to access our sets and do some other things on sets. And if you have any question here, you go ahead and use the question and the answer section, and I'm going to get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you so much. Hello, I welcome you back again to another video lecture in Python, and here we go ahead and look at dictionaries in Python programming. Alright, so this is another awesome topic in Python, and we all know that dictionary is one of the inbuilt data types we have in Python. So we have list, we have tuple, we have set, and we have dictionaries. And these are inbuilt data types that stores data collections in Python. But dictionaries store data values in keys and values. So it is always a pair. So there is always a key and the value of that key. So that makes it a pair. So, and dictionary is unordered. That means it is not indexed. You cannot say this is index 0, index 1, index 2, and so on. And it is changeable. You can actually change that. But the problem is that it does not allow duplicate items. And we use curly braces for that. Now let's go ahead and create a dictionary of student, and let the student have these qualities. Then the first is the school that the student is going to, that is which school does this student attend, and for us to give the school is the key, then the value, that is the name of the school, is the value, and the name of the school is academy. All right, now I'll put a comma. So each time you see a colon, it means that this is the key and this is the value. So colon always tells us that we have key and value separately. And now I'll go ahead and give it another item in here, and the name of the student. So name is a key, and the name of the student is Peter. Now we go ahead and put a comma. Each time I place a comma, it means that I have separated this value from the next one. Okay, and the next one is let me say the class of the student, and let's say the class of the student is 4. All right. Now and the next one is let me say the age of the student. The age of the student is let me say 18. All right, now I have these 4 items right in here because it's actually 4. This is the very first one, and this is 2, and this is 3, and this is 4. Now it might look like you don't actually understand. If I should break down this by moving them to the next line, I believe that it will make more sense to us, and in that way we can see that this is a value on its own, another on its own, another item of value. You can call that either item or value, but this is a key. That is the very first one, and this is value of the key. All right, now we have 4 items here. So if I should go ahead and print out these, I'll go ahead and pass in student right in there, and if I should run this code, it will print out the keys and its values. All right, now I told you that dictionary is unordered, which means that I cannot be able to access each of these items either with by indexes like index 0, index 1, index 2, or index 3. That does not exist. So how can I be able to access the values of each of these keys, like school, name, class, and age? To access the values of this key, I can go ahead and pass in the key right inside here, and I'm going to specify the key I want to check its value. I'll go ahead and say school, and if I pass in students school, remember that this is a square bracket and not a curly bracket, round bracket or curly brace. So if I should run this code, it will print out academy for me. You see that? Now if I should pass in age and I run this code, it's going to print out 18 for me. So in that way, I can be able to access that individually without using indexes because it is unordered and does not allow index 0, 1, 2, or 3. Now I told you again that this does not allow duplicate items. In that way, if I should come here and say that age is 24, what happens now is, always put a comma right into the last one. What happens is that you can see that this has been colored Pycharm, showing you that it has 2 duplicate items. That is 1. And if I bring my mouse here, you can see dictionary contains duplicate keys, and these keys don't need to be duplicate. It's just one of them. But it's not going to throw an error. There will not be an error in this at all. What happens actually is that if I should run this code, the last of these keys is going to overwrite the very first one. That means 24 will overwrite 18. Check it out. If I run this code, I have 24 instead of 18. That means if I continue to add this key, the later one will succeed the former, and that is how it's being done. Therefore, we need to go ahead and remove this because duplicate items are not allowed in a dictionary, so that it can easily be accessed. All right, now if you want to check the length of this dictionary to know how many lengths you have, what you need to do is just go ahead and use the length method and pass in the name of the dictionary, students, right in there, and run this code and check it out. So that is 4 items. Now in a dictionary, we actually use or a dictionary contains both string, both integers, which I've seen here, and it can also contain a list. So I can actually say go ahead and let me say what am I going to use? I can use anything, maybe like poop you. All right, okay, let me say poop you. Okay, so maybe the names, and I want this to be a list method, and what I need to do is, this is a list because a list contains a square bracket. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass in the names of this. I'm going to say Paul, and here I'm going to say Mike. All right, and I'm going to say hello. All right, so we use hello because hello has always been here with us. So, and we need to pass in word as well. All right, so I have this, and let's check if this will be printed out. So what I need to do is I'll go ahead and pass in the dictionary student right in here, and we'll go ahead and print out this to know if that actually works. So you can see that it was able to print out pupil, Paul, Mike, hello, and word. All right, that's cool, right? So now, you want to check the data type of this to know if this is actually a dictionary. What you need to do is to go ahead and just type in type and type in students to know this data type of this. Is that actually a dictionary? And you can see dict right in there. So that shows it's a dictionary. All right, so I believe we've done something so cool, hey? And we really introduced ourselves to this very well. So go ahead and practice with what you've learned so far and check out more on this. We're going to do more on dictionaries to understand so many other things we need to know under this. So I believe that is cool. And if you have any question, you go ahead and use the question and answer section, and then you relax very well because we're going to look more into dictionaries and check out more on that before we move to other things we need to know in Python, and that will help us to become better Python developers. So use the question and answer section for your questions, and I will be here responding to you immediately. Thank you, and I'm going to see you in the next video lecture. Go ahead and learn how to create a file in Python programming. All right, now let's go ahead and learn how to create a file. Before we go ahead, go over to your desktop or to your documents or anywhere in your computer. Here on my desktop I have this PC desktop, and here I have a folder I created, and I call this folder P file or Py file. All right, I just created this folder today, and I call that Py file. And if I double click on it, you can see that I have nothing right in here. That means nothing is inside this folder at all. So how can you create a file? And the file we are going to create is a text file. Okay, so in order to learn how to create a file, then you write to the file and then you read from that file. That is what we are going to learn. So let me go ahead and minimize this, and to create a file, you go ahead and use F and say equal to open. So we use this to open our files, and because you don't have any file created at the moment, you're going to trace the root of your file. Now I have this to be my PC desktop Py file. So if you go to your PC, you can always take the root folder and the root part, and if I click on this, this is C user desktop Py file demo tx. Now this is the root part of the file you are creating. Is on the desktop. So this is on the desktop, and this is the folder I just created. Now the name of the file I want to create is demo text. So demo text is what will appear here, is the name of the file that I will be creating here. Okay, now if you want to create a file in Python, you use W. The W will create the file if the file does not exist at all. So we have X will also create a file and return error if the file exists. And we have A, the small letter A. The A will create the file if the file does not exist. Now let's go ahead and use a W. So put a comma and put that in quotation mark, add just W in lowercase. So if you add W in lowercase, you've actually created this file. Now let me go ahead and run this code, and let's say we have this. So go back to desktop. This is my desktop, and I'll double click on this. You can see that this is demo.txt. I'll drag this down a little bit so you can be able to check it out. So I created, I say file F equal to open, and I gave the root part of where the file is, where the folder is, and I created the file right inside this root part using W. So W creates this, and if we double click on this, we can see we have nothing right in here. So we've not written anything inside our file demo.txt. So I'll go ahead and close this, and check the size of this is 0 kilobyte. So 0 kilobyte, showing you that nothing is right inside this file demo.txt. Now if you want to write something inside here, you go ahead and use write. Let me say f.write. So with f.write, you can go ahead and say, let me say, welcome to Python programming. Alright, so welcome to Python programming. This is a testing file writer. Alright, so welcome to Python programming. This is a testing file writer. So I'm testing this file, and each time I create this, what I'm going to do now is I have to go ahead and close that. So in order to do that, you use f.close. So you always open and then you close. Now if you go ahead and do this, let's go ahead and run this code and check it out. So I'll go ahead and open this, and now you can see the size of this has changed to 1 kilobyte. And if I double click on this, say welcome to Python programming, this is a testing file writer. Alright, so this is a testing file writer. Now if we go ahead and write something else, go ahead and close this. If you write something else here, it will overwrite that one. Let me go ahead and I'll go ahead and cut this, and I'm going to say this is demo overwrite. So this is the demo overwrite, and this is overwrite, and then go ahead and run this. Let's check this out. Go back here, then we open our text and say this is demo overwrite. So you can see it can actually overwrite that, right? So I'll go ahead and minimize this. I'll go back right in here and put in what I just cut off, and remember to close this. And if we should go ahead and run this code, it will give us what we have previously as welcome to Python programming. This is a testing file writer. So I'll go ahead and close this. Now you've created, or you've succeeded in creating this. Okay, so go ahead and check that out. Maybe after appending or checking out, you can also go ahead and read your file. So we said that we can also use X to create a file, and it will return error if the file exists. Let me go ahead and say X, and then we go ahead and run this code, and you see we have an error because the file actually exists, and this is the file we have right in here. The file actually exists, so it returns error. And what if we go ahead and use A? We create a file if the specifier does not exist. So you go ahead and use A. Let me say A, and if we go ahead and run this code, there's no error, but the file actually exists, so nothing will be done. And what it did now is that it append what we have. Alright, so it will append what we have. So what this A does is that it appends. Okay, so it will actually keep appending or keep adding to the file that you have right there if the file actually exists. Now I'll go ahead and close this, and if I put in W, you will see. Before that, go ahead and show you this. Open this again. You can see that because I appended this, I have this right in here, but W overwrites, but A keeps appending and keeps appending. All right, so go ahead and close this. Let me go ahead and put back W, and then I'll go ahead and run this code, and this just overwrite everything without appending anything to it. So this is the difference between these two. I'll go back here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add demo 1, and I'm going to put A, and then let's go ahead and write this. Check it out. Demo 1 is created because demo 1 does not exist. Okay, and went ahead and put this. Go ahead and close this. Let me go ahead and put a demo 2, and we use X. Let me say demo 2, and go ahead and say X, and then we go ahead and run this. You see there is no error this time around because it never exists before, and now it has been created, and you can see that. So you can use W, you can use A, you can use X to create a file. But the difference between this is that W, we create the file if the specifier does not exist. But if the file exists, nothing will happen, and it will just overwrite what you have in the file already. And if you have A will go ahead and create a new file if the file does not exist. But if the file actually exists, it will go ahead and append the text right in there. So if the text is there, it will append another one and keep appending. It doesn't just want to know anything, just keep adding to that file, and without overriding it. So X actually creates a file if the file does not exist, and then it will go ahead and write to the file what you've just written. And if the file actually exists, it goes back and throw an error. So that is what X actually does. So this is the difference between these three methods of writing to your file. So you've learned how to create a file and also learned how to write to the file. So go ahead and practice with this, check out more on that, and if you have any question, you go ahead and use the question and the answer section, and I'm going to get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you so much, and I'm going to see you in the next video lecture.